Newcastle United midfielder Sandro Tonali has been handed a 10-month ban for breaching betting regulations.
Toney been suspended from all football for 8 months.
Lucas Paqueta accused of 4 spot-fixing offences in Premier League games.
You may have seen the headlines. Big-name players being banned from football for months, sometimes even a year, for betting on sports. Lucas Paqueta, Sandro Tonali, Toney, and the list keeps growing. Some of these players have opened up about their addiction to gambling, admitting they've struggled with it throughout their careers. But here's the catch. While players are getting suspended for gambling, their teams are wearing kits with the logos of the very same betting companies. So let me get this straight. You can advertise the casino, take money from the casino, but if you use the casino, you're out for a year? What we're seeing is the consequence of a sports ecosystem that's become deeply entangled with an industry designed to make as much money as possible from the people watching it. Sure, some people say sports gambling is just a fun way to add excitement to a match, and for some fans that might be true. But behind that thrill lies a dark, manipulative industry, one that's evolved rapidly over the past decade, turning football fans into statistics on a profit chart. Let's break down just how this epidemic took over the game, and how the footballing world made a deal with the devil. Gambling on sports has seemingly existed since, well, sports themselves. The ancient Greeks bet on Olympic events. Romans placed wagers on gladiator battles. There are even records of Egyptians betting on chariot races. Fast forward a few thousand years, and the principle is the same. But now the horses are 22 millionaires running around the pitch, and the wagers are made on your smartphone from your couch. Sports betting first became legal in the UK in 1960, when betting shops were finally allowed to operate openly. At the time, it was still mostly a working-class pub pastime. But the real game changer? The rise of online gambling. Suddenly, you didn't need to walk into a smoky shop to place your bet on a game. You just needed a Wi-Fi signal and a borderline delusional hunch on a 10-leg parlay. And with online platforms came scale. Major companies like Bet365 and Stake could now operate globally with flashy apps, aggressive advertising, and algorithms designed to keep sports fans hooked. In 2023 alone, the global online gambling market was worth over $95 billion, with sports betting making up a huge chunk of that. That's more than the value of all the top 5 leagues combined. And as profits soared for these online casinos, so did their lobbying power. In the UK, the gambling industry spends millions annually on lobbying politicians, with executives even sitting in on government advisory panels. In other words, the people writing the rules are sometimes the same ones profiting from them. These days, betting odds are integrated into game broadcasts. Pundits will literally analyze the over-under before kickoff. Stadiums have in-house betting lounges. It's gone from shady backroom deals to full corporate spectacle. And shocker, all of this has contributed to a staggering rise in gambling addiction. In the UK alone, it's estimated that over 400,000 people suffer from problem gambling, with millions more at risk. The US National Council on Problem Gambling estimates that 2 million adults meet the criteria for severe gambling problems, with another 4 to 6 million experience mild to moderate issues. And that number has likely increased since the 2018 Supreme Court ruling that allows states to legalize sports betting. And the sports team themselves are only making things worse for fans. You may have noticed a trend in recent years. Gambling sponsors are everywhere. From sports teams to Instagram memes, online casinos and sportsbooks have left no stone unturned. And they can afford this because of how much cash fans are losing year in, year out. As of last season, 11 out of 20 Premier League teams had gambling companies on the front of their kits. The worst of these was Crystal Palace's dodgy partnership with online betting firm Net88, a questionable online casino that had 28 followers on Twitter at the time of the multi-million-dollar deal. And yes, questionable kit sponsors aren't new. From Burger King to superhero sequels to but gambling sponsors hit differently. Why? Because kids wear these shirts. We've got an entire generation of 8-year-olds in jerseys that double as walking advertisements for companies trying to get people to bet on goals, corners, throw-ins, and even coin tosses. Hell, someone's probably made a bet on how many times Pet will spit on the sidelines. And this exposure works. Studies show that kids exposed to gambling logos in sports are significantly more likely to see gambling as normal, even glamorous. That's how you create future customers. The Premier League recently announced that front-of-shirt gambling sponsors will be phased out by 2026, which sounds promising until you realize they'll still be allowed on sleeves, billboards, and pitch-side advertising. Well done, Premier League. Glad you got to the bottom of that problem. Sports gambling doesn't just affect the fans watching the game, it also threatens the integrity of the game itself. Match fixing has long been a part of the dark side of football. And with the rise of online betting, the problem has gotten even worse. Underground bookmakers, especially in countries with lax regulation, offer huge payouts to players, referees, or even club officials to manipulate game outcomes. One famous example came in 2013, when Europol uncovered a massive match-fixing scandal involving over 380 matches across Europe, including Champions League games. Bribes as high as £100,000 were handed out to fix specific results, or even just a first-half goal. The sad truth is that as long as there's big money on the line and poor oversight, match fixing will always be a threat. Let's dive into the faces of this crisis, the players who've become cautionary tales in football's gambling saga. Ivan Toney might be the most high-profile player punished in the modern era of football betting. The English striker was making headlines before this controversy, leading underdogs Brentford to a top-half finish while bagging an impressive 20 goals. However, he soon started picking up much more media attention for all the wrong reasons. In May 2023, the Brentford striker received an 8-month ban and a £50,000 fine after being found guilty of 232 breaches of the Football Association's betting rules. That's right, 232. The investigation revealed that Toney placed bets over a 4-year period, including 13 bets on his own team to lose, though none while he was actually playing, because that would be just wrong. But here's where things get murky. During the investigation, Toney was diagnosed with a gambling addiction, and the FA actually reduced his sentence because of this. It was one of the first times we saw a top-tier footballing body publicly acknowledge addiction as a mitigating factor. Whether this is a fair reason to reduce his sentence or not is still up for debate. Despite his punishment, Toney stayed in the public eye, doing interviews, training during his suspension, and even landing a Lucozade ad campaign that subtly poked fun at the situation. It's created this bizarre situation where Toney is both a scapegoat and a bit of a cult hero. But the real kicker? While he was banned, Brentford still wore Hollywood bets across their chest every weekend while Toney was forced to watch from the sideline. If Ivan Toney is the face of betting bans in England, Sandro Tonali is the tragic prodigy of Italy's gambling scene. At just 24 years old, Tonali was supposed to be the heartbeat of Newcastle's new midfield, a £70 million signing from AC Milan, compared to Pirlo for his style and to Gattuso for his grit. Tonali looked like a generational talent, until it came out that he had been placing illegal bets on football matches while at Milan, including games he was playing in. To make things even more surreal, he reportedly used a friend's account to hide the activity. That's the sort of thing that gets your suspicious uncle banned from FanDuel, not a professional athlete earning £100,000 a week. It just goes to show that this is a real psychological issue that gamblers are facing, and it's often not about the money. The Italian Football Federation handed him a lengthy 10-month ban, knocking him out for nearly an entire season. He also received an additional 8-month period of mandatory therapy and community service aimed at educating young players about gambling harm. What made Tonali's case especially painful was his vulnerability. He openly admitted to struggling with addiction, describing it as something that controlled him. Unlike others who tried to hide their behavior or deny any wrongdoing, Tonali owned up to it, quickly, publicly, and seemingly sincerely. For Newcastle, it was a disaster. Their marquee summer signing was banned before November, left out of Champions League fixtures, and now a symbol of what can go wrong in this new era of gambling saturation. Then there's the controversial case of Lucas Paqueta. The skilled Brazilian midfielder has been West Ham's number 10 since getting signed for a club record fee in 2022. His case is still under investigation as of the making of this video, but the allegations alone are enough to raise eyebrows. He's accused of intentionally receiving yellow cards during Premier League matches so that acquaintances could profit from spot bets, which are micro-bets placed on specific in-game events. Bookings in matches against Bournemouth, Aston Villa, Leeds, and Leicester triggered unusual betting patterns in Paqueta's hometown in Brazil. The bets weren't enormous, but the clustering of them was definitely suspicious. Now, to be clear, Paqueta hasn't been convicted of any wrongdoing yet, but the fact that these patterns even exist, and that such specific in-game actions can be bet on in the first place, shows just how vulnerable the sport has become. You don't have to throw the whole match, you just need to insist on taking a throw-in or making an alleged mistimed tackle. It's a footballer's version of insider trading. You know the event is going to happen, you can control it, and then somewhere else, far away, cashes out big time. If proven guilty, Paqueta could face a significant multi-year ban and potentially lose a transfer to a major club. Rumors swirled about a move to Manchester City before the investigation emerged. But regardless of the outcome, the mere presence of this investigation adds to the growing distrust between fans, players, and the betting world. These 3 players are just a few examples, the cover and title of an extensive story behind an industry that profits off addiction and desperation. While football is still the beautiful game, online casinos and sports betting platforms have smudged that beauty with dollar signs and betting slips. When players get banned, the headlines scream irresponsibility. But the real irresponsibility is the system that enables and profits from it. One where clubs can rake in sponsorship money from casinos, only to ban the players who fall into the traps they helped set. The responsibility doesn't just fall on the players. It also falls on leagues, clubs, and even us as fans. We need stronger regulations, better education for players, and most importantly, a system that values integrity over quick payouts. Thanks for watching this video as always, and make sure to check out some more of my content here. If you could leave a like and subscribe, that goes a huge way for supporting this channel.